You don't need a fancy camera to record improvised comedy. Videoing comedy is easy, but getting the sound right is difficult. It's hard because you have no idea which way someone will be facing, whether they're going to be loud or quiet, whether there's going to be music in the background or musicians. And you've got the biggest problem of all, which is a live audience, which makes way more noise than any of the performers who typically are unamplified. So this video is about how I record improvised comedy and try to get the sound right. Every phone and just about every consumer camera has actually got a really good microphone on it. These things are actually perfectly good enough to record a show. The problem is it's where they are. So if you're recording a show from a handheld camera, you're going to be in the audience because you want an audience perspective of the show. But the problem is, if you're in the audience, you're going to be way closer to the audience than the performers. You're going to pick up way more audience noise than performer sound. And that's going to sound terrible at the end result. Same if you put the camera on a tripod at the back of the show. If it's closer to the audience than the performer, you're going to hear way more audience than performers. A solution that you'd think would work well, but unfortunately doesn't, is to use something like this. This is a small directional mic. You can get much better ones than this, but this one is quite affordable. The problem is that it's not directional enough. If you have it in the audience, it's still going to pick up some of the audience noise that's happening around. And if you have it at the back, it's probably not focused enough to pick up what's happening on stage. These things just aren't really a very good option. But there are some choices that really do work. For example, you could put a field recorder on the stage. Something like this, which is this is a Tascam Portacapture X8. You can have it on a little stand and point it approximately at the performers and away from the audience, and it will do a pretty good job of picking up more performance sound than audience noise. And it can sound particularly good. So this was a recording I did at Hoopla, where because there were so many performers, there was no way I could give everyone their own microphone. But putting the microphone on the stage and later recombining the audio with the video allowed me to get a pretty decent sound. One solution that allows you to cut through all kinds of background noise is to give each performer their own microphone. I'm wearing a DJI radio mic right now, and these things are wonderful because they work like traditional radio mics where they send a signal back to a receiver, but they also are little recorders, so each radio mic can record exactly what was spoken, and it gives me a chance to recover that audio if the main recording goes wrong. That's another thing to plan for when you're doing a show recording, because so much stuff is going on at once, you only really have one chance to set up, and if things aren't quite right, you need a plan B, some other way of getting the video or the audio so you can still put together a show recording at the end. These radio mics give one massive benefit, which is that they record each performer's words on a separate channel, which means that if one person is loud and another person is quiet, I can fix that in the post-production. And that means I've got another chance of getting things right. It would be really difficult if that was just how it was performed and we only had one channel. I think getting the sound right makes such a big difference. You could have a recording with blurry video that was poorly lit or incorrectly white balanced, and nobody would really care as long as you could hear the comedy and get why a show was funny. But if the sound is bad, I don't think anyone's going to enjoy that recording. You might as well not make it, which is why I think sound is almost always more important than video when recording improvised comedy.